Everything you know about keeping your green card just became outdated. What I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes could be the difference between maintaining your permanent residence and losing everything you've built in America. And I'm not exaggerating. Congress just approved sweeping immigration changes that affect millions of green card holders right now, today, as you're watching this. If you have a green card, if you're waiting for one, or if someone you care about has one, you cannot afford to skip a single second of this video. Welcome to Dream Visa Updates. I'm John, and I've dedicated my career to making sure people like you stay ahead of immigration changes before they become problems. Today, I'm breaking down the most significant immigration rule changes we've seen in years, changes that are already in effect, changes that could impact your status starting right now. And here's what makes this so critical. These aren't proposals or rumors. This is law. This is real. And the consequences of not knowing could be devastating. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll have a complete action plan to protect yourself and your family. You'll know exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to avoid the traps that are catching thousands of green card holders off guard. Let me paint you the big picture first. Congress has passed comprehensive immigration reform with multiple provisions specifically targeting green card holders. The official reasoning? Strengthen enforcement, reduce fraud, ensure compliance. But here's the reality. These changes are creating panic in immigrant communities across America because some of these new rules are incredibly strict, and the margin for error is razor thin. I'm going to walk you through every major change, one by one, so there's zero confusion about what's happening and what it means for you personally. And let me be clear, this isn't about scaring you. This is about preparing you. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to protecting your immigration status. Let's start with the change that's going to affect more people than anything else. Stricter physical presence requirements. This is massive. Under previous guidelines, most green card holders understood they could travel outside the United States for up to 6 months without major issues. Extended absences beyond a year would raise red flags unless you had a re-entry permit, but 6 months? Generally considered safe. That safety net just disappeared. Here's the new reality. Green card holders must now be physically present in the United States for at least 6 months out of every 12-month period. Think about what that means. If you're spending more than half the year outside America, immigration officials can determine you've abandoned your permanent residence. But it gets more complicated, and this is where people are going to get caught. The rule also examines a 3-year rolling period. If you spend more than 18 months outside the U.S. in any 3-year window, officials can question whether you truly intend to live permanently in America. So what does this mean in practical terms? If you travel frequently for work, if you have aging parents abroad who need care, if you maintain a home in your birth country, you're walking a tightrope now. You need to become meticulous about documentation. Keep every boarding pass, every passport stamp, every hotel receipt, anything proving when you entered and exited the United States. Create a travel log. Make it detailed, because if immigration ever questions your presence, you'll need ironclad proof. And if you're planning extended time abroad, listen carefully. You may need to apply for a re-entry permit before you leave. This permit allows you to stay outside the U.S. for up to 2 years without abandoning your green card. But here's the catch. You must apply for it while you're physically in the United States. You cannot apply from abroad. Plan ahead or risk everything. Now let's talk about change number 2, and this one surprises people. Mandatory biometrics updates every 5 years. Previously, you only updated your fingerprints, photographs, and signature when renewing your green card every 10 years. That timeline just got cut in half. Every 5 years, regardless of whether your card needs renewal, you'll receive a notice from USCIS instructing you to appear at an application support center for biometrics. And here's what nobody's talking about. If you miss this appointment without valid cause, your green card can be revoked, not suspended. Revoked. Your permanent resident status can be terminated for missing a biometrics appointment. This isn't a small administrative hiccup. This is a status-ending event. The biggest danger, if you've moved and haven't updated your address with USCIS, you won't receive the notice. You'll miss the appointment without even knowing it existed. and suddenly you're facing revocation proceedings. That's why updating your address using Form AR11 within 10 days of any move isn't just recommended anymore. It's absolutely critical to your survival as a green card holder. Change number 3 introduces something that's making a lot of people nervous: enhanced continuous background checks. This isn't about checks when you apply for citizenship. This is ongoing monitoring. If you're arrested for anything, even a misdemeanor, USCIS gets notified automatically through data sharing between law enforcement and immigration databases. They'll know before you finish your coffee the next morning. Certain crimes have always led to deportation for green card holders. Crimes involving moral turpitude, aggravated felonies, domestic violence, drug offenses, firearms violations. But under these new rules, the threshold triggering removal proceedings has been lowered significantly. Minor offenses that might have been overlooked before are now being scrutinized intensely. That shoplifting charge from years ago, that bar fight you thought was resolved, they matter now more than ever. If you have any criminal history, even if it's old, even if it was expunged, you need to consult an immigration attorney immediately. Don't wait until USCIS contacts you. Be proactive. Understand your risk profile before it becomes a crisis. Here's change number 4, and this one's catching thousands of people completely unprepared. Tax compliance verification. Green card holders must now prove they're filing U.S. tax returns and paying what they owe. The IRS and USCIS have opened their databases to each other. When you apply to renew your green card or apply for citizenship, you'll be required to submit tax transcripts for the past 5 years, showing you filed returns and paid your taxes. If you haven't been filing, you're in serious trouble. As a green card holder, you're required to file U.S. tax returns on your worldwide income every single year, even if you're living abroad, even if you don't owe anything. Failure to file creates not just tax penalties, but immigration consequences. You can be denied citizenship. You can face removal proceedings. This is not theoretical. This is happening. If you're behind on taxes, you need to work with a tax professional immediately to get compliant. The IRS has programs for people who haven't been filing. Fix this proactively before USCIS discovers it, because when they discover it, your options shrink dramatically. Change number 5 extends the public charge rule in ways we haven't seen before. Traditionally, public charge considerations applied to people applying for green cards. These new regulations extend them to existing green card holders. If you're receiving certain public benefits like cash assistance, SNAP, Medicaid except for emergencies, or subsidized housing, this can now be considered when you apply for citizenship or if your status undergoes any review. Now, this doesn't mean automatic green card loss if you use public benefits, but it can be held against you. The government can argue you're likely to become primarily dependent on government support. If you're using public benefits, document why. If it's temporary unemployment, a medical emergency, circumstances beyond your control, gather evidence showing this. If you're taking steps towards self-sufficiency, document those steps. This documentation could save your status. Change number 6 adds new categories of deportable offenses, and some of these are shocking in their harshness. Material support to terrorism, even if you didn't know the organization was designated as terrorist. False claim to U.S. citizenship, even if made by mistake. Voting in federal elections if you're not a citizen, even if you genuinely thought you were eligible. These rules have no exceptions for good faith mistakes. Zero tolerance. And here's where people are getting destroyed. Checking the wrong box on a form. Some states automatically send voter registration forms to everyone getting a driver's license. People check boxes without reading carefully. One wrong checkmark claiming you're a U.S. citizen when you're only a green card holder can result in deportation. Read every form carefully. Answer truthfully every single time. Your status depends on it. Change number 7 transforms the citizenship interview process. The civics test now includes more complex questions about American history and government. English language requirements are stricter with less leniency for older applicants or those with disabilities. But here's what really matters. The interview now includes detailed questioning about your entire time as a green card holder. They'll ask about your travels, your employment, your tax filings, your family relationships, any interactions with law enforcement. They're hunting for inconsistencies between what you say and what's in their records. You need to be prepared. Bring documents proving everything on your application. Don't guess. Don't estimate. If you don't remember something, say you don't remember rather than making something up. One inconsistency can derail everything. Change number 8 introduces expedited removal for certain offenses. Previously, if you were accused of deportability, you had the right to a hearing before an immigration judge. You could present your case, potentially apply for relief. The new rules allow expedited removal in certain circumstances. You can be deported quickly without a full hearing. This applies to green card holders convicted of aggravated felonies or deemed national security threats. If you fall into these categories, your rights are extremely limited. You cannot apply for most forms of relief. You cannot appeal in most cases. The decision is made quickly and executed quickly. This is why avoiding any criminal involvement whatsoever is absolutely critical now. Change number 9 limits re-entry permits in ways that will hurt frequent travelers. Previously, you could get a re-entry permit valid for 2 years, return, and apply for another one. The new rules limit you to 1 re-entry permit per 5-year period. If you need to travel frequently for extended periods, this creates a serious problem. You may need to reconsider whether maintaining your green card is even feasible given your travel requirements. Change number 10 involves Social Security verification. USCIS is now cross-checking green card holder information with Social Security Administration records. They're looking for people who aren't working legally or aren't paying Social Security taxes. If you're working under the table or using fraudulent documentation, this will be discovered. The consequences include deportation and criminal prosecution for fraud. Now, let's talk about protecting yourself because that's what this is really about. I'm going to give you 10 specific actions you need to take starting today. First, if you travel, become obsessed with documentation. Create a spreadsheet tracking every trip. Note departure dates, return dates, trip purposes. Keep all travel documents indefinitely. If immigration ever questions your physical presence, you'll have undeniable proof. Second, make sure your address is always current with USCIS. File Form AR11 online or by mail every time you move. This takes 5 minutes and can save your green card. If USCIS sends important notices to the wrong address and you miss deadlines, you'll face serious consequences. Third, file your taxes every single year without exception, even if you don't owe money, even if you're living abroad. Even if you have no income, file a return. Keep copies of your returns and tax transcripts. You'll need them when applying for citizenship. Fourth, attend all USCIS appointments without fail. If you get a notice for biometrics or an interview, be there. If you absolutely cannot attend, file a request to reschedule immediately with a valid reason and supporting documentation. Never just skip an appointment. Fifth, avoid any criminal activity whatsoever. This seems obvious, but it's worth emphasizing. Even minor offenses carry immigration consequences now. Don't drive under the influence. Don't get in fights. Don't use drugs. Don't shoplift. Don't commit fraud of any kind. Any arrest can trigger immigration problems. Sixth, if you're charged with any crime, hire both a criminal lawyer and an immigration lawyer. They need to work together because sometimes a plea deal that looks good from a criminal perspective is catastrophic for immigration. You need experts who understand both systems protecting you. Seventh, never lie on any immigration forms or at any immigration interviews. If you made a mistake on a previous application, correct it as soon as possible. USCIS can forgive honest mistakes corrected promptly. They cannot and will not forgive fraud. One lie can result in permanent inadmissibility to the United States. Eighth, if you're using public benefits, document everything. Document why you need them and keep evidence that you're working towards self-sufficiency. If you lost your job, show you're actively job hunting. If you're sick, show you're getting treatment and plan to return to work. Documentation is your shield. Ninth, maintain strong ties to the United States. Keep a U.S. bank account. Maintain a U.S. driver's license. File U.S. taxes. Own or rent a home in the U.S. Have family here. These things demonstrate you genuinely intend to live here permanently. They show your life is rooted in America. 10th, and this is the most important action you can take. Consider applying for citizenship. Once you're a U.S. citizen, most of these rules stop applying to you. You cannot be deported except in extremely rare cases involving fraud in obtaining citizenship. You can travel freely without worrying about physical presence requirements. If you've been a green card holder for 5 years, or 3 years if married to a U.S. citizen, and you meet the other requirements, apply for citizenship now. It's the ultimate protection. Let me address the questions I know you're thinking. Can these rules be challenged in court? Yes, and lawsuits have already been filed by immigration advocacy organizations. But until a court blocks these rules, they're in effect and you must comply. Don't gamble on court decisions. Protect yourself now. Are there exceptions to these rules? Very few. The rules apply to nearly all green card holders regardless of how you obtained your status. Whether you got your green card through family sponsorship, employment, asylum, or the diversity lottery, these rules affect you. What if you already violated one of these rules before they took effect? That's complex and situation dependent. Generally, if you did something before the rule changed, you can't be punished under the new rule. But if your violation is continuing, like not filing taxes, you need to fix it immediately. Past violations can't be changed, but ongoing violations can be corrected. Can you lose your green card even if you didn't do anything wrong? Unfortunately, yes. If you fail to comply with these new requirements, for example, missing a mandatory biometrics appointment, you can lose your status even though you didn't commit a crime or fraud. Compliance is mandatory. The political context here matters. These rules passed Congress with bipartisan support, which is extremely rare for immigration legislation. Both parties agreed that green card holders should be held to higher compliance standards with U.S. laws. However, immigrant advocacy groups are deeply concerned these rules are too harsh and will result in many long-term residents losing their status over minor issues. There's also serious concern about disparate impact. These rules will disproportionately affect certain communities. Green card holders from countries with mandatory military service may have to choose between keeping their green card and fulfilling obligations in their home country. Green card holders with elderly parents abroad may struggle to comply with physical presence requirements while providing family care. Lower-income green card holders may face difficulties affording legal representation when issues arise. Looking ahead, there's talk of even more changes coming. Some members of Congress want to make green cards conditional, requiring renewal every few years with proof of continued eligibility. Others want to increase fees for green card applications and renewals significantly. Some want to limit the types of crimes for which you can get waivers. The immigration landscape is evolving rapidly, and green card holders need to stay informed constantly. What about green card holders who are elderly or have disabilities? There are some accommodations. For biometrics appointments, if you cannot travel due to medical reasons, you can request a waiver or ask for USCIS to come to you in limited circumstances. For the citizenship test, there are exemptions for older applicants and those with disabilities, though these exemptions have been narrowed under the new rules. If you have special circumstances, consult with an immigration attorney about what accommodations might be available to you. One more critical point I need to make: be extremely careful about immigration scams. Whenever there are major immigration changes, scammers emerge promising to help you comply with new rules for a fee. They offer fake services, charge excessive fees for simple forms, or give dangerously bad advice. Only work with licensed immigration attorneys or accredited representatives recognized by the Department of Justice. Check credentials before paying anyone anything. Your status is too valuable to risk on fraudsters. In conclusion, these new immigration rules represent a fundamental shift in how the U.S. government views and treats green card holders. The era of obtaining a green card and then not thinking much about your immigration status is over. Completely over. Green card holders now have ongoing obligations and face continuous scrutiny. This isn't necessarily bad if you're following the rules, but you need to be aware and compliant. The stakes are simply too high to be careless or uninformed. Thank you so much for watching Dream Visa Updates today. I hope this video has given you complete understanding of the new immigration rules affecting green card holders and exactly what you need to do to protect yourself and your family. If you found this information valuable, and I know you did because you watched all the way to the end, please subscribe to Dream Visa Updates and hit that notification bell. Immigration law changes rapidly, and we're here to keep you informed every step of the way. Share this video with any green card holders you know. This information could literally save someone's immigration status. Leave a comment below with your questions or concerns about these new rules. I read every comment and try to respond to as many as possible because your questions help me create better content for everyone. Remember, at Dream Visa Updates, we're committed to empowering you with the knowledge you need to navigate the complex U.S. immigration system successfully. Until next time, stay informed, stay compliant, and protect your status. This is John signing off.